Three, two, one, let's go. Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Cozy, Too Cozy, a.k.a. Lao Shay. That's my real fucking name, by the way. Shouts out to Naja, Relax the Jackson. Shouts out to Spence, a.k.a. St. Kitch, a.k.a. St. Picasso. Let's go. It's episode 52. We're right here to give you another beautiful episode of the Highly Advised podcast. Hey, guys, let them know who you are. Talk some shit a little bit before we get into it.
Man, what's going on, everybody? It's Spence. You checking it out. St. Kitch, otherwise known. Can't call it really, man. Just taking it easy. Another beautiful day. We had a whole conversation already, so I can't be nothing but happy for another beautiful day. Good weather, life is good. So I hope the listeners' lives are doing just as good, if not better, right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's going on, Nigel? This is Relaxing No G_Jackson. I am here for another Sunday with my compadres. We're here to talk and get it in about a few topics, and things are good. I am finally making my way towards, running. You know what I mean? I'm not running, but definitely walking at a nice pace. So everything's good. I can't really complain too much.
That's what's up, man.
No, that is what's up. You healed back pretty fast, actually. That's like a quick bounce back.
It felt like a long time. It really did.
You sure you're not juicing?
No, I'm not juicing. Where can the listeners follow us at, y'all?
Well, they could definitely follow us on Instagram at the Highly Advised Podcast, and they could follow us on Twitter at Advised Highly, and they could definitely subscribe to us on YouTube because we're there too. Make sure you guys leave reviews because we appreciate that. Leave comments because we fuck with that. Thumbs up or thumbs down. That's what we want to see. And if you don't fuck with that, we might throw you in the sea. So that's how we do it. That's how we do it, man.
Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the Instagram, subscribe to the Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Highly Advised Podcast, Advised Highly One on Twitter, and as well as the Highly Advised Podcast on YouTube. Like my man Lau said, subscribe, do something good for yourself, get entertained by the stuff that we go through, hip hop, MMA, even a little bit of other things that go on in the current events. So, just thankful for you guys to be here. I'm saying? There's a lot of good topics, a few good topics from this week. I mean, I know one thing I wanted to start it off with was, did you guys catch the Whittaker and Gastelum fight?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. It was the fight, the main event was good. It was a real competitive fight, but Whittaker he did his thing. He looked very improved. It was a shutout, 50-45. And the rest of the event sucked, but the main event was a solid showing. I think Robert Whittaker and Israel, they need to go ahead and run that back.
Yeah, I fell asleep throughout the fight card because it was just very boring. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, some of the fights were good. Like, the Tracy Cortez fight was pretty entertaining. It was back and forth and whatnot. But it's like there's a few fights on there that were lackluster, I guess is the best way to put it. However, Robert Whittaker went in there and, he looked very, composed. And as he usually does, but he was really, sharp in his striking, and I didn't think that he was going to pull it out like that. I actually had, Calvin Gastelum winning that fight. But, yeah, he beat him, and soundly beat him, too. Like, he was nowhere, really in the fight. He was never really dominant, never really, competitive. It just looked like he just went in there and beat him and even took him down and did pretty much what he wanted to do with him throughout the whole fight.
Yeah, he mixed it up really well with his striking and the wrestling. I was very impressed with the counters he was landing. It's like Kevin Gastelum. He just couldn't. I don't know if he kept seeing it and he just had a bad habit, but he just kept getting cracked with a straight counter. I was just like, his coaching. I don't know if his coaching could do anything with it. If they're like, hey, try to adapt, we need to do this instead. But Robert Whittaker seemed to have an answer for everything Calvin was doing. So kudos to Robert Whittaker. I think the next fight is him versus Israel. I think Marvin Vettori now needs to fight either Derek Brunson or Paulo Costa to get a shot after them. But Whittaker is next. But
according to Marvin, he thinks he has next.
Yeah.
He said he's very confident.
Yeah. Sure. So we already know who's next after last night's performance.
Yeah.
And And for next week, we got the preview for Usman and Masvidal, and they also showed previews for the other two title fights. What do you guys think about that? Since that fight is going to be the next big fight coming up next week.
I'm kind of excited for that next fight. Actually, I do think that Usman's probably going to end up going through with the victory again, like he did before when he fought Masvidal. Whatever Masvidal has to bring that's new to the table, I don't think it's going to be enough to take out the champion, being that you lost the first time. So I'm pretty excited for that. I know Namajunas, Rose Namajunas. I can't wait to watch that, as well as the Shevchenko fight as well. So really, my main focus is the Usman fight. Like I think Usman may end up finishing Masvidal in this fight.
Well, I'll start with the Usman fight, and I'll say that I think that at worst, we just get a more dominant fight from Kamaru Usman. I don't think Jorge Masvidal is going to really go in there and bring anything that we didn't see before, because it's not like he didn't look like he had energy in the first and the second or whatever. But Usman just went in there, took him down, and worked him. And I honestly don't see Jorge Masvidal's takedown defense or ground game improving to the point where the same thing won't happen again. At worst, he's going to do exactly what he did, except better. Because let's not forget that while Jorge Masvidal stepped in on late notice, that fight was also late notice for Kamaru Usman, because he wasn't training for him. He was training for Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns got COVID. So I don't really see it going any different.
I agree with you, Nigel. I'm going to side with Spence on the finish part. I think Usman is going to get like the earliest a third round finish, but I'm predicting a fourth round finish for Usman. It's not a good fight for Masvidal. He's dealing with a guy that now not only can wrestle extremely well, whose his real strength is his wrestling, but his striking has improved where he's knocking people down with jabs. And I feel like, and it might not even be that he has strong punches, but he has the fundamentals of a good jab, which is, you see what happened with Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, he couldn't adapt to that, and his ass eventually folded. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Masvidal is a poor, striker, but I just think that he can't mix it up as well as Usman can. I don't think Usman is going to try to get in there in a boxing match. No, he's going to exchange a little bit, probably press him against the fence, work his ass, and I think eventually he's going to be able to pull off the finish. Now, where I agree with Nigel, at worst, it'll just be a dominant decision. I don't think Masvidal has a chance, man. And this is the final chapter in the Street Judas, Street Jesus era, because after this, people will see like, hey, time's up. Now you have to fight real fighters again, because he was doing that. Then out of nowhere, he pulled a Tyron Woodley. He only wants particular fights. It's weird, As far as the co-main event goes, or co-main events, I should say, I'm picking Zhang Weili to beat Rose. I think Zhang she's very nice. She's all around. She's a really good fighter. Rose is always good too, but Rose, here's the thing with her. She has that talent, and you could tell she's elite, but she's inconsistent. And it's like she'll win 2 or 3 fights, then she'll lose. When she lose very in devastating fashion, like getting planted on top of her head type shit. So like I see Weili beating her in a decision. I think it's going to be very competitive. That might be fight of the night, honestly. So listeners, definitely pay attention to that fight, because those two ladies, they're going to put on a show. As far as Shevchenko and Andrade, I think Shevchenko's just going to take her to school. She's going to outclass her in every way. Andrade, she's just a bulldog with power. Against Shevchenko, who's world-class striking, who's wrestling at a world-class level. She can also pull off submissions. And Andrade, once again, she'll lose another title fight. So those are my predictions for next week's big fight card.
I got Zhang Weili in the co-main event. I think overall she just will show up for almost all of the reasons you gave. Like, she's been improving that she belongs there and she is the champion. Rose Namajunas will show up, I think, for this fight. But I think even still, Zhang Weili is overall the better fighter in the situation. If Rose shows up and isn't on her game, I think the fight ends in the second or third round. But I don't think that's going to happen because it's a championship fight and she hasn't, not shown up for a championship fight before. So I'm sure she'll be with it. As far as Shevchenko, she's going to win that fight. Jessica Andrade, she's a good fighter, but she's not on her level. Valentina is going to go ahead and take the belt home like she's been doing. She's the second best behind Amanda. And, that's pretty much all there is to that. I don't think Jessica is skilled enough to beat her. And even if she were to get in trouble by her from maybe getting caught, I think she could take her to the ground and finish her. So that's just that.
Yeah, most definitely.
I am curious, what you're saying with Masvidal after this loss that we all predict that he's going to take. I wonder how it impacts the next fights that he goes into, because essentially, definitely now in the era that we live in now, especially if you lose twice against the champion, there's the road to another title fight is a harder path, especially when the champion is still the same person. So I'm curious to see what happens with him moving forward. But the other cards, yeah, I'm looking at not the other cards, but the other fight, the other co-mains. I feel the same exact way. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good fight card. Fans of MMA, listeners, fans of us, the listeners, definitely tune in. I think it's going to be an entertaining night. I just think that the women fights, they're going to be far more competitive than the main event. It seems like the main event is hey, Usman, we're giving you a showcase against a big name. Just go ahead, put another whooping on him so we can start selling you to the moon.
Well, he's doing something similar to what Izzy did last night with Robert Whittaker, because he won a fight, called somebody out. Izzy's coming back down, calling out the opponent he wants, being Robert Whittaker. You know what I mean? So it makes sense.
Yes.
If Usman wins, which we believe he will, who do you think he should fight next, or ideally?
Well, I think there's only two guys. It's either you go ahead and give Kobe a title shot and get that blood feud over, or you give it to Leon, assuming he beats Nate Diaz.
That's fair enough. I agree with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can get with that one.
Yeah.
I can get with that one.
There's another fight announced officially for the first time this week. We know that the Conor McGregor, Dustin Porier trilogy is taking place in July, on July 10th, if I'm not mistaken, and it sold out immediately.
To me, I would say it's kind of like a rollout for that fight, with the whole thing going back and forth where Conor had said he was making a donation to Dustin and then his charity. Then it became this whole feud, and then eventually it became something we end up seeing. So I'm curious to see how that fight goes. Right now they have it 1-1. So, I mean, for the trilogy, it could go either way. But I do have Conor in that fight, to be honest with you, just because of what we've seen from Conor before. Conor definitely has an approach of, after taking a loss, he tries to learn from it. Now, granted, he said it was ring rust, but I mean, I think as the closer we get to the fight, more things will come out for us to really make a stronger opinion on our predictions.
Right now, I'm picking Conor, but I'm not saying that as Dustin can't win again, because Dustin can easily win again. And I think this fight is more or less of, does Conor still got it, or is he really done? Because a loss for him, it's over. Because there's no easy fights in the lightweight division. No easy fights in the welterweight division. I mean, I don't think he'll ever cut down to featherweight where he could probably reign supreme again. This is make or break for Conor. It's not make or break for Dustin. But for Conor, it is. Because if he loses again, all the luster, all the mystic Mac shit, all that is down the drain. And now he'll be looked as on the downside of his career. So if he wins this, the UFC could still sell that fantasy a little while longer. But if he loses, Dana might be starting to put his eggs in another basket. Because the thing about the UFC, you have to win fights. It's okay to lose. It's not like our next topic, the corrupt-ass boxing. It's okay to lose, but you have to win the big fights. You just got to win it. You got to win it more times than you don't. So that's just my quick thoughts on that. What about you, Nigel?
I mean, what I will say for now is that I think we're going to see the return of the extreme shit talking Conor in some ways. if you've seen, he's already saying like he wants like this belt and that belt and da 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 da. And also, like, you know, Dustin came out and apologized for putting their business out there, but I'm sure that might open the door for Conor to talk some shit and not feel like any type of way about it, like he usually does. But I mean, like, he's also been a little humble in these last two rollouts in comparison to his fights prior. So I'm kind of curious to see what type of shit talking he's going to do. And I think if he goes in there and beats Dustin, we'll have a lot more to talk about after they fight. But there was another fight last night that happened, like Lyle was alluding to. Jake Paul knocked out Ben Askren in the first round. And we now have to sit here and deal with this YouTuber who keeps on knocking out these so-called, you know, opponents that he's fighting. Well, they are his opponents.
I was gonna say they're not so-called opponents.
They are his opponents.
These are actually like he's beating professional athletes. We can say that.
That's the thing, though. They're professional athletes.
So
not boxers. That's the
I know,
thing.
and I agree there. That's the thing. That's the gimmick behind this whole thing. Of that he said, I was thinking about this last night when I saw it. Like, he's thought about this perfectly. Hey, I'm going to fight celebrities that are first. I fight a prime athlete, not a prime athlete, but I fight an athlete like Nate Robinson, knock him out. Cool. Now I fight Ben Askren, who is a Olympic level wrestler who has also been who was once a phenom, and I think in Bellator or whatnot. And he tried in the UFC and it didn't really work for him, but he's a legitimate fighter, right? But the thing is with Ben Askren, the thing that most people know, and I had a feeling Ben Askren might lose this fight, was he's not, anybody that knows him knows he's not a fighter that's good with standing up. Even when he fought last night, he wasn't even defending himself. So when he got kind of clocked, it wasn't surprise. It was a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise. Now, Jake Paul in this case, I think Jake Paul is going to have somewhere else. I think he's going to try to up the ante. I think it's going to be against someone that's like a pastime fighter still. So,
man, so that whole event was a piece of shit event. You know, it was a joke event. You know, they had 10 concerts. You know, it was like after every fight, there was like 3 fucking. When Whittaker and Gastelum was going on, me and Nacho was watching that. During the Paul Askren fight, Justin Bieber was having a whole concert. He was performing like 5 songs. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like
and Doja Cat came out and did a couple songs too.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, really? I only watched the Askren fight.
So I was going on Twitter just to see what people think, and people were not happy. They were like, "Look, I paid my hard-earned money for corruption, and I got even more corruption. Like their job is to mask the corruption because we already know it's corrupt. It's like pro wrestling. We know it's scripted. So we're going into it to have some type of entertainment from this scam and sham. But instead, you know, we're going into it and you guys don't even care. It's like, yeah, we're corrupt. We're celebrating our corruption tonight. And we know that you guys are bought into it. You guys are all suckers. Now listen to some Justin Bieber. And people were not happy even before the Jake Paul fight. And I know, Spence, you only just seen the main event, but there was this co-main event between one boxer and I can't pronounce his name, but I've seen his name before, against another guy who looked like he was just brought in to stare at the lights. And the one boxer, I think his first name is Regis or whatever. You know, listeners. Right. People in the comments, fill us in. I can't pronounce his name, but he hit him with a body shot, and the body shot didn't even connect all the way. But this guy acted like he got low blowed in DDT the way he was like squirming around the floor. So they did like 10 replays, and he
Are you serious?
He was on the ground for like 10 minutes.
They did like 10 replays, and he didn't punch him nowhere near his nuts. Nowhere near.
He barely connected.
He barely connected on the body shot. And it wasn't even the midsection. We were talking about like on the side of his body. But this guy's acting like, you know, he got, you know, fucking kicked right in his nuts. They brought out a stretcher for him. I'm like, you guys were talking about, everybody was talking about Aljamain Sterling. This guy just took the Oscar for the next 3 years. Like he sold that shit. And it's like, dude, no one punched you there. Even the commentators, who were egregious, by the way. The commentating last night was some of the worst.
Well, I was gonna say,
sports.
Speaking of Oscar, they said that he was pretty toasty up there the whole time. That's what they said.
I haven't even got to the best part of the conversation.
Hold on, Oscar De La Hoya was
coked out of his mind, and the whole world saw last night what I've been saying on this podcast for a while now. This guy, this is him. He is the face of a cocaine junkie. Like, he is part of that. He's part of that. Like, come on, everybody's seen that. It was very visible. He had a line under his nose, and he was just going off the rails. Like, this dude it's so incredible. It's so incredible. Like, and I don't know how people got suckered into paying $50 to $60. This is a real life circus.
You paid for an online concert, several online concerts, and some shitty fights. Like,
some very bad fights.
Yeah.
And, but what do you expect, though?
This is not talking the main event.
Yeah, I was about to say, we still have to talk about the actual fight that happened.
Yeah, this is not talking the main event. We're talking about this promotion called Triller, where it seems like it's angling towards joke fights.
Well, hold on, wait. No. Well, hold on, wait. So what Triller's doing isn't so bad because it's making them a lot of money, and it's like if these celebrities were actually taking it serious, then it'd be like, okay, cool. But the way it's being booked, like, we know what Ben Askren brings to the table against a Jake Paul, but the public just sees, hey, Jake Paul, this YouTuber who just knocked out Nate Robinson, is going to go fight another professional athlete, world-class athlete, whatever the case is.
In this case, a professional fighter.
Right. In this case, a professional fighter. So I don't blame Triller. Like, do I like the format of how they do things? I'm not a fan, but I know that somebody who's probably watched that show would probably like a Justin Bieber. So I'm not mad at them for doing it. I don't like it. I think it's shitty, but...
No, I have no problem with how... this is where they're perceiving it as like, hey, this is legitimate boxing. This is like real prime time. But don't watch HBO, don't watch Showtime, watch Triller.
But that's what they're supposed to do.
And that's the part why people don't like it. They're handing everybody Triller Fight Club championships. Now we just is that legitimate? Is that legit? Now they're world champions. Jake Paul is a world champion according to Triller, but he has a world championship title. Do you see what I'm saying about boxing?
Okay, but at the same time, I understand that, right? I totally understand that part. But at the same time, from the business standpoint of like what Triller is, Triller has always been a form of entertainment, right?
Right.
And now what we have now we're going back into the age of celebrity fighting, right?
Okay. Which I'm not mad at, honestly.
Yeah.
Because they're making their money.
Yeah.
As long as it's safe for them, you know?
Exactly. It's an entertainment thing for the fans. The fans get to watch something that's entertainment, as well as the catalyst behind this whole thing that drives this thing as a quote unquote professional looking thing from like your perspective is probably because it's Jake Paul. Because Jake Paul is like someone that has vehemently said, like, I guess he wants to be a professional fighter. The fact that he's winning fights is the fact that it's no different than Conor. Granted, it's totally different. Conor is a professional fighter in a professional sport of that same sport, fighting professional fighters. In this case, they're using someone like Jake Paul, who's like, yo, listen, I'm on a street, it's hot, and just keep putting the money behind me, because at this point, what people are paying for is not to see Jake Paul win. What people are paying for is to see if he's going to lose. And that's all it is. And they realize, yo, if this is how we sell it, this is how we sell it. And they know like I said, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I can say this, like, if you have Justin Bieber, if you have Snoop Dogg as one of the commentators, like, and Justin Bieber performing, like, as well as Doja Cat and so on and so forth, like, those are things that like just like Nigel said, I agree, where it might not be my preference, but it's pretty much for entertainment. Like, I mean, let's be honest, if you see that Jake Paul is fighting someone, unless you have no understanding of what professional boxing is or professional fighting or professional combat sports in general, if you have no idea what any of that is, you're going to think, oh, Jake Paul must be somebody, or these people that he's putting them up against must be someone. Like, more than likely, they're taking Jake Paul's audience, which is pretty huge, and they're matching it against like, oh, some kid that only knows who Jake Paul is, but has no idea who Ben Askren is or Nate Robinson is. They just know it's a professional athlete or a professional fighter. I can't knock them, but it is what it is.
That's the problem I have with. They're selling a bad narrative, right? They're in the form of business, they're doing what they need to do, which is, hey, how can we outdo the biggest scam artist in boxing? We could do it with Jake Paul. Last night, they've made a killing. They're like, hey, we have perfected the art of scamming, and we've done it, you know? But the problem I have with the narrative they're trying to sell is they're trying to sell like, hey, Jake Paul is a legitimate boxer. Okay, if you talk about that, he has a professional record of 3-0, and he's getting licensed by the commission to fight guys who's brought in to do to stare at the lights. Yeah, okay, you could say that. He's a legitimate boxer. But everybody with common sense and a consciousness, especially, and I'm not even talking about the people who watch fights on the regular like us, we know like this is a sham. This guy is selling snake oil to the T, because like, look at his record and look who he beat. He beat a fucking YouTuber that I don't even know who the fucking YouTuber is, but he beat him. Yeah. Then he beats KSI. Nate Robinson. No, he didn't beat KSI.
Oh, he lost to KSI?
No, his brother lost to KSI. Oh. But he beat a fucking YouTuber. Then he beat Nate Robinson, who was no longer the NBA, out of his athletic prime. And Nate Robinson didn't even train for that fight like Jake Paul did. Jake Paul, I give credit to Jake Paul. He took that shit serious, while Nate Robinson just thought I could just beat some random white boy from the suburbs. And he got his ass knocked out viciously. So like, he beat him. Then he comes in and he fights Ben Askren, who is a world-class MMA fighter. But here's the thing about MMA that you can't do in boxing, you know? Grapple. If you saw enough Ben Askren fights, you know, okay, this guy, he's not even going to try to trade with you. He's going to grapple you. And if he grapples you, it could be a very long night for you. Thanks. Obviously, boxing is far from his wheelhouse. You see Ben Askren, it looks like the dude did a train a day, right? It looked like, hey, I'm getting my $1 million payday. I'm going to come here. I'm going to act a little serious. I'm going to dive. And I'm gonna walk out. You see, after the thing, him and his wife were kissing each other like red panty night. We did it, you know, like, so it's, to me, that's the problem that I have. In a post-fight thing, they asked Jake Paul, hey, Jake, now that you beat an MMA fighter and you beat a professional athlete, when are you going to fight a real boxer? He said, hey, I'm going to fight whoever I want to fight. AKA, I'm not going to fight a real boxer. Because I know once I do, it's like I'm a fucking Kung Fu master. The gimmick is out. Everybody knows this is a sham. It doesn't work.
Well, here's the thing. Like, he has to eventually fight. Like, his competition has to keep on getting better. Because if it doesn't, then what he's doing becomes stale. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to elevate at this point in time. Over time, that's just the way it is. Like, he can't fight another fighter that's like a neighbor. He can, and he can make money. But it's like, it's not a lasting thing if you don't get at least slightly better with who you're fighting over time.
He's not going to fight a real boxer, Nigel. The most he will ever do is fight a credible striker for MMA.
I'm not saying he is. I don't think he will, but I'm saying that if he doesn't, his gimmick can't last, is what I'm saying.
He will never fight, because last night he fought at 190, which is kind of like, you could have a middleweight or a light heavyweight cutting weight to fight around that. He's not going to fight your Robert Whittakers, Paulo Costas, Israel Adesanya's. He's not even going to fight the top cruiserweight boxers in boxing. He's not. He just won't do it. The top light heavyweight boxers, he'll never do it.
They will be wise not to fight him either.
Well, I mean, if they want a quick payday, but if they're talking about, you know, legitimizing their record, yeah, you know, what's the point of trying to fight a guy like him? Like, it is crazy. Like, and I understand why his trainers are sitting there cheerleading and they got pom-poms on, because they're thinking like, yo, we got a good paycheck. We got an easy paycheck. You know, more money. So yeah, so good from a business aspect, I'm not mad at it. But from a credible sport thing, as Jake keeps trying to say, it's a joke, it's a sham, because you're not fighting real boxers, bro. And if he does fight a real boxer, he might fight some amateur level guy who's making his debut. And he's not going to fight hey, you're going to fight this very, veteran boxer. He won't do it. He just won't do it.
To Spencer's point,
But
though,
even
what
then-
is he supposed to do other than put himself on like he is like the shit? You know what I mean?
But
Like,
he's coming out saying he wants to be a legitimate boxer.
what is he supposed to say if he's trying to sell tickets?
Yeah,
And he's trying to
but
sell
at the same-
pay-per-views. My bad. Sorry, Spence.
Yeah, it's that you have to sell pay-per-views. You have to put on. There is a certain shtick that you have to run. I'll give you that. I absolutely agree. But I do also think like if he were to fight, like I think in the case for Jake Paul, you have to think of it like this. Because to me, I don't even have a problem with any of it because I look at it like that show that used to come on MTV with celebrity whatever
deathmatch.
Yeah,
that's the way you think of it, like a very violent cartoon.
No,
Jesus.
no. But when I say that, I say like in terms of like that show's the purpose of that show then was as a piece of entertainment of what if you had these, if you could get your favorite celebrities to fight each other. But nah, so like with Jake Paul, my thing is with him, he just has at this point, it's all entertainment, like the celebrity thing, like the celebrity cartoon show MTV used to have. But the thing is now in order for him to get to that point where like he's going to keep selling it like, hey, I'm a real fighter, I'm a real boxer, blah, blah, blah. But we got to look at it as entertainment because that's all it is at the end of the day. And the second thing of it is just this, that if he were to fight somebody, right, that's an actual boxer, let's say he fights a professional boxer that's having their first or second professional fight and he beats them, right? Well, then go off and probably say, oh, it's still not credible. But if you really think about it, at that point, it would be like, hey, he's a legitimate fighter. Now, if him and Oscar were to step in the ring, right, then if he was to beat Oscar, if he was to step in the ring with Oscar De La Hoya, then that would be a whole nother conversation of like, hey, even if he was to make it 2 rounds with Oscar De La Hoya, that would be a big conversation in itself, right? But no matter what you want to call Oscar, no matter what you want to title him as, no matter what you want to say he's doing it for, at the end of the day, it would be, this is a Hall of Fame legend. Jake Paul, he could fight professionally, but he'll never be an elite fighter. He couldn't, even if he fought Ryan Garcia, despite him weighing 190 and Ryan Garcia weighs 120, Garcia would box his head off. Devin Haney would box his head off. Tank Johnson box his head off. Like Lomachenko would even box his head off. And they're like, there's a huge gap difference. Like Andre Ward could come out of retirement and knock his head off.
So, my bad. Before you say what you're going to say aloud, they said that the next fight for Oscar could possibly be Tyron Woodley.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would watch that. It'd be interesting, right? Because you have, an old cokehead going against somebody who's got knocked out 5 times. I mean, not knocked out 5 times in a row, but he lost 5 times in a row. So, that to me is more legitimate than Jake Paul fighting somebody, because at least we have a retired Hall of Famer who fell hard from grace and he's taking drugs over his pride versus a guy who just, he's getting beat by this guy.
God, man.
This guy who's getting really beat and dominated by the toughest competition that's being thrown his way. And for him to get a payday against a stained, a tainted Hall of Famer, an Oscar, would have been, to me, that's fine. That's a battle of that to me, that's more competition than entertainment. So I'm fine with that.
And more unfortunate news, we've had a couple situations this week that happened with law enforcement, and in 2 situations, one person was killed, Daunte Wright, and another situation was a bad traffic stop to a Army lieutenant. It's kind of unfortunate, you know what I mean? More or less, that people are having to deal with this, and it's just 2 sad situations, you know what I mean? In Minneapolis, there's a lot of, uproar about it. They had to, postpone a couple games. And as far as the other one with the lieutenant, I'm not sure exactly as to where that happened, but definitely that cop was fired. So definitely hope that they find justice in those situations.
Yeah. The situation with Daunte Wright, first of all, definitely rest in peace to him, and shouts out to his family. Like condolences to them, because they had to lose a loved one. I know there's going to be some back and forth about the Daunte Wright one, because of there's people coming out saying, well, he should have never did what he was doing for him to get placed in the situation he was of getting shot. Then you have the other people coming out saying like, this is supposed to be a trained professional who's supposed to protect and serve. And she claims it was a taser, but instead she whipped out, her gun. And I feel like that one is going to be very a debated one from both sides. Whether you think is right or wrong, that one is also is a big controversy right now. And they charged the lady second-degree murder, but right now she's out on bond. So that one, we'll definitely see what it's going to be like. And it's just a very unfortunate situation, again, with police officers killing an unarmed black man. And the one with the lieutenant, that officer should be like ashamed of himself, because I read into that one, and apparently when they were trying to pull him over because he had new tags or unregistered tags, I don't know, it had something to do with his tags. He was trying to they wanted him to pull over in a dark area, or he was trying to pull over in a lidded area, which is legal to do because it wasn't like he was running from the police. So he did that. He was compliant to what they're saying, and this guy was just like freaked out, started pepper spraying him and shit. So he sued, and of course the police department of that officer that got fired, they fired his ass. And because if you watch the video, you've seen the guy was just dead wrong. There's nothing to like dispute about it. He was dead wrong for what he did. So it's just, man, what a time, man. I thought after last year's events, not saying that it would go away, but you would figure things would be a bit more cautious from the side of law enforcement. But no, it's just goes to show, man, it's still vibrant and still strong from their end.
In the situation with the lieutenant, I watched that video a couple times, and I just didn't understand as to why the cop was being the aggressor in the way he was, and I think that's really what, caught me off guard about it all. Like, it was just like I'm not sure what else he could have done to stop what happened, and getting pepper sprayed and whatnot. It just seemed like he was trying his best to comply, but he just wanted to know exactly as what was going on. Sprayed him, dragged him out the car. You know what I mean? I think he has every right, to handle the situation the way he does. But it was just, like I said, both of those situations are just unfortunate, honestly.
Yeah, both of these situations are very unfortunate. I've kept my eye on some of this stuff over the week. There's not much more I can really say. It is at least it's good seeing especially with the lieutenant, because you guys said that the police officer was actually let go from the force. So
fired, big fat F, fired,
as he should.
It's good seeing at least where they're actually going through a process in terms of like feeling as though like, hey, we feel as though this is excessive. So these are the actions that we find as the employer that we should take. So I'm happy about that. I just want to say like, because I don't have much more to say on it, just except seeing how all this stuff plays out as time moves forward. And just send out my prayers and condolences to Daunte Wright's family. So
everybody just be safe and keep telling your loved ones that you love them, because you just may never know one day. You could be doing something very innocent, minding your own business, but then you're a part of something like way out of your control. So everybody stay safe as much as possible.
Yeah. And in other news, maybe you should also invest in some Dogecoin. The prices for that have went up a lot, like over the last few days. It's been kind of interesting to actually watch the rise of Dogecoin. If you invested earlier, let's say in maybe like December or whatnot, your stocks have risen by like maybe thousands of percents. So it's kind of crazy to see all this going on.
I've looked at it. I haven't done any investing in it. I don't know. Like, it's like I always say, like I always have my own I have my own principles when it comes to investing. But I see it like this, like until I really look into it, I can actually figure out whether I want to get into it. But from what I've seen so far, that it has done like a crazy increase over the past like 6 or 7 months, like especially, and right now it sounds like there's a lot I went on my Instagram feed and on Twitter. There's a lot of people now I'm starting to see where like, hey, they're about to invest in Dogecoin, or they've just invested in it. So it's good seeing that some people are able to capitalize off this moment. So curious to see what happens like moving forward.
What I will say is right now, I think the peak of touch, it was definitely way over 45 cents. I want to say it hit 50 cents. Listeners, commenters, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the peak was 50 cents. Then it went back down to 40 for a while. Now it's like in the 30-cent range, 29-cent range. And I was having a short discussion with Nigel about it. I was like, this is good because for people who are looking to have a lot of coins or shares, however you want to call it, you want it to be low so you can buy a lot more before the next big spike. And the reason why it's been going down is because people have been cashing out on it. There's people who have hundreds of thousands of shares before last week's spike. So those people, they probably already made a cool six, maybe seven figures. And they're kind of like, hey, I'm out the game. I got my money. So that's why you see that shit going the way it is. But I look at it as like, treat this like a long-term thing, kind of like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. Treat it like those, because if you continue to invest, don't be surprised with yourself, listeners. In 10 years, you got a large 6, maybe 7 figures in your bank account because you trusted the process. So don't give up on it. Don't be mad that it's back down to 30 cents. That's just how the game works. And, for those who's holding out and is still keeping their shares or coins, good job on you because, it's going to benefit you in the long run.
And none of this financial advice, by the way. We, don't have any type of, legal situation to give that type of, that out.
We are legally not allowed to give you financial advice. So please take this as an opinion of all of our own individual opinion. And none of this will be used as advice. Anything that you choose to do in terms of investing is only up to you. None of this, if you allow this to influence your decision, that is because you've made a logical decision on your own behalf that you wanted to do this, and this was another piece of information based off an opinion.
No, it's not financial advice or nothing like that. You're right. It's just, 3 calm, cool kings, just having a conversation, just getting their thoughts out there. But I'm not telling Joe, Bob, Sally, and Sarah what they need to do because they're damn sure not telling me what I need to do. So that's, like Spence said, this is not professional, legal, financial advice. This just is an opinion of the most coziest man in the world. So that's it. So speaking of other cozy things, guys, guess what? Me and my homeboy, Mr. Gilroy Jack, we're coming out with something extremely cozy at the end of the month. So more details to follow. And we want, this is something cool for us. And we want everybody to be intrigued by what we're going to do. So, but I'm going to pass along to Nigel, though.
Well,
shameless plug, man.
Yeah. Shameless plug, a little mysterious project going on. We had a couple other projects release this Friday, one of them being Conway with his new album. How do you pronounce that, y'all? Anybody?
La Machina.
What does that mean?
I couldn't tell you.
The machine?
That would make the most sense. I'm not sure.
It would make sense, right? Listeners, why don't you tell us?
So what you think of the album, guys?
Yeah.
I
loved it.
I had to listen to it again in order to say as to where I'm going to place it as far as like my albums of the year and whatnot. But it's definitely one of the better albums that come out this year for sure. I enjoyed it. It was cool. There was a decent bit of good songs on there. I think right now I can't say that I like the production more than plugs I'm at too. But overall, like I do like the project, so it's not bad.
Spence, sir.
The project was really good. I listened to it like it's immediately like after it came out or after it was announced on social media like that morning. So I checked it out. It's a really good project personally. I think this project to me so far, it reminds me of how even Conway breaks it down within the album, but it reminds me of like where Conway's placement is within Griselda. in terms of like how we have the mastermind, which is West Side, and we have the star of the show, which is Benny. But at the end of the day, we can't forget about when it comes to all of that stuff combined. You have like in terms of the lyricist, it's Conway, who's at the forefront when it comes to the lyricism side of Griselda. So I really enjoyed the project. He had a chance to actually showcase some of his new some of his new artists for his drum work label, which was pretty good, as well as even having a feature with Ludacris as well. So it was a pretty good album. I personally would give it right now maybe a 4 out of 5. Of course, something like this is so early. It's got to live with me a little bit longer before I can come up with a conclusion, whether it's where it ranks itself within my top albums of the year, or at least of the first or second quarter. So, but as of right now, that's where I got it at.
This album to me is also a 4 out of 5. I think the lyricism is A1, 5 stars. I think Conway is really spitting on this album. I think he did his thing for sure. Why I don't give it 5 out of 5? I agree with Nigel. Some of the production is kind of like, okay, there's some good production on there, but some of it is kind of like Conway could have chose a different beat. You know, his lyricism is carrying the beat so much where it's kind of like, okay, we can ignore the beat. But this album is one of the better rap projects so far in the first quarter of the year. And right now, to me, the top 2 projects is this and Plugs I'm At Too, as far as rapping goes.
I'd say.
So, far as rapping goes, these are the top 2 rap projects for me. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Griselda fan or anything like that. I'm saying that because I compare to other rap projects. I mean, that people who are rapping, let's be real, you know what I mean? And
Jeez.
Conway wasn't the only one that dropped a legitimate project. Young Thug, he dropped one too, but this time he dropped one with his label, the YSL label, which is an acronym for Young Stoner Life for those who don't know. They dropped Slime Language too. Now, I don't know if you guys really listen to it, but I listened to it. And my verdict on the album is the first half is kind of hard. It got fire songs, you know. It got that Drake feature, Rowdy Rebel, Travis Scott, et cetera, et cetera. Then the second half was just like, man, I did not care for it. I understand what Thug was trying to do. He was just trying to put on his artist more. Right. But I just was not a fan of his artists. I mean, I like Gunna. I like, I think Lil Duke it's Lil Duke. He's cool. Lil Keed, he's hit or miss for me. Yak Gotti, he's kind of he's kind of cool. And, but like the other ones, I maybe I have to listen to more of their stuff, but I wasn't too much of a fan of that. A lot of autotune. So there was more autotune in the second half than the first half. So that might be why I didn't enjoy it as much. But what did you guys think?
I only listened to about the first half of it, but all the songs I heard, I liked. Maybe I heard a few that I like more than others, but like, of course, the song Ski that we saw Quavo and Future dancing to,
that song is hard.
That song is a good song. There's a few other songs on there, but that's just the first one that pops in my head other than the intro. I like it so far. I like Young Thug's music. I have no complaints. And, I hope to listen to the rest of it.
Yeah, same here. I've only gotten through. I've had the whole thing play in the background, but I only listened to like the first half of it, like actually listening. So I can't form like a full opinion, but I do know one of my friends actually said the same thing in terms of like preferring the first half than the second half. The second half they could have did without. The one song I do remember standing out to me was a song with Lil Baby, where Lil Baby had like a fire verse on there as well, as well as having like, of course, then he has Drake and so on and so forth. So as of right now, I can't form a full opinion, but I can say I like the album or what I've heard so far. At least I'll go back and listen to it more, and I can probably give a better opinion at like over time. So
the song I like the most on there, before we just like stop talking about this shit, I like the song with Rowdy Rebel the best so far.
Oh yeah, that is a good song.
that song, I enjoyed that, and I was actually enjoying Roddy Rebel's part in it a lot more than Thug's. And I'm not saying Thug's part was bad; it was good too. But I just enjoyed that song. I was like, wow, this song is dope as hell to me. I like the Drake song too, but I don't know. I just like the Roddy Rebel and the Travis Scott songs more.
Yeah, I mean, Roddy Rebel, like he's one thing I can say because I did like that song as well. I think the thing with Roddy Rebel now is like he's actually one of the hotter. Like he's one of the he has a huge anticipation for him, and so far he's delivered in terms of adjusting from being in jail for 7 years to now being back in the music scene. So with Roddy Rebel, I definitely can feel you on that. And we didn't have anything to say about it. Well, we didn't plan about this, but did you guys see about the backlash Bobby Shmurda was receiving earlier this week?
For his supposed girlfriend or whatever?
Yeah, it was that. And then I saw something about the girlfriend thing, but I also saw something about, I guess he was playing a snippet, and I guess a lot of people weren't feeling the snippet.
I mean,
no, I didn't hear the snippet thing. I thought you were talking about like the
girlfriend.
Yeah, the girlfriend stuff. Yeah.
See, here's the thing, right? I'm not gonna judge him off a snippet anyway. That shit's dumb. Like, these people are so hungry to get some music from Bobby Shmurda. Like, let him put out music the way he wants. Nah, for real. It's like we're gonna judge him off of like 30, 40 seconds. Like, fuck that. That's dumb.
I mean, kind of, but not really. Just only reason I get what you're saying, but my thing is, like, we live in an era now where snippets are the thing. Like every song that ends up becoming like a hot song, it was a snippet first that everybody was like, yo, I can't wait till this comes out. I can't wait till this comes out. Yo, when is this coming out? Hey, yo, Dirk, you need to drop this. Hey, Drake, you need to drop this. Hey, such and such, you need to drop this.
Like, you remember when you heard the snippet for Playboi Carti's album?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I was excited to listen to a whole lot of Red.
Yeah, me too. I liked it personally, but a lot of people didn't.
No, I mean,
a lot of people didn't like the album. So.
A lot of people didn't like the album, but one thing I will tell you now, I was telling Nigel that the album is growing on me more and more. I listen to it because I'm starting to understand this is
not a bad album.
No. It's not that whatever he's saying. I'm removed from the rap portion of it. I have accepted, hey, this is not real rap music. Let me listen to it for just music. You know, I can understand why motherfuckers go crazy over his music. It reminds me 100% of like that fucking 90s, early 2000s, well, more 90s like rock music where people fucking just raving, going crazy over it, and they hear the sounds, they're not really paying attention to what he's saying. Because he, like, when you listen to the lyrics, it's not great. We all could sit there and we all agree. All right. But when you listen to like the and this is what I was saying about Die Lit, it's like there's something about this dude's music where you just listen to it, you just like, man, I'm energized. Yeah, I'm vibe out to. I could turn up to this shit. You know, that's the thing. And I think once I removed myself from that, from a whole lot of Red, like rapping wise, I started to like it a little more.
I still can't get through that whole thing.
But like, you don't listen to music like that though. You know,
not to that type of music. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't listen to music like that. You're more like, you know, you do listen to trap shit and all that stuff, but you know, lyricism, boom bap, that's more like your speed.
Yeah. I mean, but even then though, like I'm into like that other type of stuff. Like I've always been into alternative music, right?
Okay.
But like it's I put like this, and it sounds kind of crazy when I put it this way, but the words that to me, his music isn't legible. And like legible is typically like something that you see in terms of writing. But like when I'm here, like that legible is completely different than something of an audio thing, right? Of an audio perception. But it's just, to me, it's like when I listen to the music, I don't know what's going on. It's kind of like his music to me just reminds me that, hey, I'm in a different era. I come from a different era of music. And like, if this is it, it's it. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like the Koi Leray or whatever her name is. I'm not sure what her last name is, but even her, like she put out something, a snippet I think she had on IG. I liked it. It sounded like Playboy Cardi, but like to me, it's like, oh, I like this, but that I'm not a fan of. To me, it was just too much going on. Like for me personally.
Two things to what you were saying. I think this album for Playboy Cardi, you can hear him a little bit more than some of his other tracks for sure. Like, you know what I mean? And understand what he's saying. And two, like Lyle was saying, like, I think, you know, for the most part, you're listening to it for the vibe. You know what I mean? So like, it's like, to me, when I take my mind to that point in time, I'm like, oh, okay, like what he's saying isn't as important. You know what I mean? Even though it's like there's certain songs where he's trying to get, you know, he's saying what he's saying or whatever, but I'm not looking for like Jay Electronica type lyricism from Playboy Cardi. You know what I mean?
I'm not, me neither.
Exactly. Somebody who's listened to Metallica, they're not listening to Metallica for what he's saying in the songs.
Well, I can't speak for them. I don't think that's necessarily true.
I was gonna say I think music in general in all genres has always been based off like the lyricism, right?
No.
Even in like, well, no, let me finish. Like in terms of like the masses, like a lot of people that listen to some of that stuff, even if it's like screamo and all of that type of stuff that we might not understand, or headbanger music, like that stuff is saying something. It's not like they're just like yelling words that's like A, B, C. No, it's like they're saying something. It might not be something we can relate to. And in terms of like what Playboy Cardi does, I think the music here that he does, it's just, for me, it's just, he might be saying something and I might just not be understanding it. And I might just, because of that, I might not be able to vibe to it. Like you said, I'm more of a boom bap type of person. But, like I'm listening for that. I'm like listening for a message.
Yeah, but I feel like you could relate to Playboy Cardi more than you don't think you can. Yeah. No,
what?
Believe it or not, I think you can. And I'm not going to say it publicly for the for the professional sake, but like, I actually think that all three of us can kind of relate to Playboy Cardi with at least one thing. Is some of the things he's talking about. And I'm not talking, but we can all agree, you know, without a shadow of doubt, he's not a good rapper and his lyricism is bottom of the totem pole type shit. But when I'm listening to this dude, like others, massive amount of others, we're not listening to him for a great 16 bars. We're listening to him because it's like we want to just space out, or we just want to hear a good sound. We're not focusing on a message. That's what his music is like.
I have to think of a lot of these artists like, hey, you're not your traditional rapper. Like, and we spoke about this off mic before, like 90% of these rappers who are out nowadays aren't your traditional rappers. And like, we can get further into it another time, but like, I just don't necessarily think of him like that. I mean, honestly, he falls more in line with like, you could even say like a Young Thug, Future, whatever the case is, but like, he's not like, let's just say a DMX or like some of these other rappers that came in like, you know, our past eras. You know what I mean? He's one of the new ones. So it's okay, personally, to me.
Yeah. And even then, like, the reality is, even for those guys, like, they probably weren't considered traditional rappers to the era that came before them. So, like, like, when you listen, like, I sent you guys that video with Melly Mel, and he had his opinions on, like, rap music today. And like his opinions were based off like artists from like the past 20 years, like the ones that we consider like traditional GOAT status rappers. So like, I think it's all based off like how the tides change, and like we pass the guard from one level set to a new level set. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not knocking Playboy Cardi. To each his own. He's just not my cup of tea personally. I just not my personal cup of tea. I'll put it like that. I know I did listen to Migeul. He put out an album or an EP, Art Dealer Chic. I don't know if you guys heard it, but it was pretty dope also.
I actually listened to it. I don't know if you guys knew, but I am a Migeul fan. I do like Migeul. Yes, I do like him. And when I listened to it, and I was just like, man, I wish he put out an album.
Yeah.
That's what I wish. But I do like Migeul. Ever since he did the atomic leg drop on that girl at the concert.
Yo, he kicked the shit out of that girl. That shit was crazy. I was like, wow.
I was just kind of like, yo, who is this guy? I need to check it out.
Jeez, man. Talk about coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Migeul, he's a interesting guy. I can't say that. Like I did have the same desires though, where it was like, yo, I wish this guy would put out I wish this would have been an album. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm still waiting for, like, I've given up hope now. But when Migeul had did the Weekend song by SZA, did the cover to that, I'm still waiting for him to put that out, to be honest with you. But that's never going to come at this point. So, but I wish that would have been an album at least.
Shouts out to Migeul, man. Shouts out to
Migeul.
A very talented guy.
Yeah, Art Dealer Chic 4 for anybody listening. Go check that out. So,
yes, sir.
We got anything else for the listeners?
Before we close out, just wanted to say rest in peace, Black Rob.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace to him. Another notable rap game guy from Bad Boy, and unfortunate passing. So definitely rest in peace to him. Rest in peace to his not rest in peace to his family. You guys want to say condolences to his family, condolences to his supporters and fans, because it's very unfortunate. So
yeah,
it's crazy. It's like the same week span as the passing of DMX. So
and we only knew about it because he was on a hospital bed saying, yo, send my prayers to DMX and please pray for me. So
yeah, it's crazy to think about it like that. It's unfortunate that he passed. The song that comes to mind when I think of Black Rob is That's Crazy. You know what I mean? Like the one from like the Bad Boy album. You know what I'm talking about, right, Spence? That's crazy. You never heard that song before?
I think I've heard it once. I wasn't I listened to Black Rob's album like maybe once or twice, his full album once or twice. But like I knew him, like he was like one of those artists that like as a kid I just know him for Whoa. Like
I was just gonna say that that's what I knew him for. I didn't really listen to his stuff by himself, and I'm not hating or nothing like that, because I can't really speak on his career as if he was really dope or not. But what I will say is he was memorable for that Whoa song, and I know he was part of the Bad Boy family, so he was legitimate in some facet. So it's just for him to pass the way he did, it's just rest in peace. So
yeah, R.I.P. to him, man. Like it's very unfortunate. Did you guys have anything else to say to the listeners?
Nah, that's all I have for y'all. Other than drink your water, stay safe, and look both ways before you cross the street. And please wear a mask and sanitizer.
And definitely tune in to the next episode next week. We have more fun topics to talk about. Nigel, close us out for the listeners, and thank you all. Thank you to all the jabronis and the monkeys in the truck for listening to us.
You can follow us at Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram, Highly Advised Podcast on YouTube, Advised Highly on Twitter. You can follow Lau at Big Cozy 2 Cozy. You can follow Spence at st.kitch, and you can follow me at relaxin_Jackson. You guys have been highly advised. We will see you next time. Be safe and enjoy your time.
You've been highly advised.